Young third baseman has been a treat to watch, and it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, since the All-Star break, the offense helped out by Maikel Franco has been one of the best in baseball. In fact, in the National League, the Phillies' average of 279 is tops. The runs are second. The extra base hits are fourth. And the home runs are tied for eighth. Last night, the 4 home runs obviously moved the Phillies up the charts. It has been a total team effort when we talk about this resurgence. And will it continue? I mean, who knows? The game of baseball is so up and down. But if they can continue to do what they've done, then they're probably going to have continued success. Well, Sarge would have loved that. Continued success through the rest of the month of August.
You sure would like to see it. I mean, it's been a lot more fun for us just doing these ball games and seeing the offense. Everybody likes offense, and the Phillies are finding. The other thing I like is they're finding ways to win.
I agree.
So that's, I mean, last night it did not look good for the Phillies offensively. James Shields, change up. They made the adjustments, got some balls up, and put some good swings on it. So it has been a resurgence that we like to see.
All right, well, the umpires have met quickly behind home plate, so we're just about ready to go. The lineup for the Phils brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Phils. Utley Hernandez Herrera, followed by Maikel Franco batting cleanup. Ryan Howard hitting fifth. Dominic Brown sixth. And the bottom third of Ashe, Cameron Rupp, and Adam Morgan. And they will face right-hander Tyson Ross, who this year record-wise is a .500 pitcher, but his other numbers are actually quite good. I think the one thing that stands out for me, he's only allowed 4 home runs this season, and he is a strikeout pitcher.
He is a very big man, throws a heavy ball. He will rush it up there 91 to 95. You know, he's a guy that is very good, and especially in this ballpark. We take a look at the Budweiser scouting report. As I said, 91 to 95. His fastball strike percentage 56.1, which is the lowest in Major League Baseball. But he will find ways to get you out there. Like I said, he's a big man, and Phillies have the work cut out for him.
Stands 6 feet 5 inches, 230 pounds. The Padres wearing the uniforms that were symbolic to the 2 inductees into the Hall of Fame tonight. Time now for our Nissan keys to the ball game.
Keys to the game: keep dominating.
I get
See
it.
what I'm doing there, Tom? I tell you what, he's been swinging the bats very, very well, getting good pitches and hitting them out of the ballpark. And then Morgan needs to establish fastballs in to get them off of his off-speed pitches, which are very good.
All right, for the second straight night, Chase Utley is starting at second base and leading things off. Pete Buchanan was talking about his lineup today and then just stopped and said, I like the way the lineup looks tonight. He's trying to split up the lefties as well. First pitch of the game is in there, and it's no balls and 1 strike. They say that for the next 45 minutes or so, the hitters will have a difficult time because of the way the shadows are. They understand that when they start the game at this point. Utley fouls it away. It's 0-2.
The way that ceremony was going, I was thinking maybe they're going to turn the lights on.
It was behind schedule, let's just say. Beautiful night, though. 75 degrees here in Southern California. Utley tries to squirt it up the third base line. I think he was doing that on purpose. Unless he can't see.
I think he was trying to stay alive there.
You can see the pitchers in sunshine and the hitters are in shadows. Utley lines it out toward left center field. That's going to be in for an extra base hit. It's going to go to the wall, and Utley's on his way to second, and that's where he'll stop with a leadoff double. It's his 8th double of the year. That was a pretty nice swing by Chase Utley.
Ball jumped off his bat. Ross tries to get a heater in on Chase, and Chase wasn't having any of it. I tell you, that ball, like I said, jumped off his bat. That was a short swing. Usually, last couple of years, we've seen Chase pull a lot of pitches. Now, I'd like to see him get back to doing that. That's a pretty swing there.
Well, let's see if the Phils can jump out early here. They've got Cesar Hernandez batting second and playing shortstop tonight. Cesar 282, a home run and 24 runs batted in on the year. 0 for 1 in last night's ball game. He came on as a pinch hitter and then stayed in the game to play second base. And he pulls it to the right side. That'll get Utley over to third. And there's one away.
Well, he gets the job done here. You know, I like that, and the fact that he just wasn't up there just to roll one over. I think that was a swing that he was trying to maybe trade places with him. A lot of guys, especially early on in ball games, you go up against a guy like Ross that has very good numbers. You just don't want to go up there and give yourself up. See if you can trade places with him early on in the ball game. It's not an automatic out. Go up there and get your licks in.
Well, now Odubel Herrera's hit in 10 consecutive games. The Padres will play the infield in. And Odubel takes low. 1 ball, no strikes. 1 for 6 in last night's ball game. So his average actually dipped to 282. He's a hair below the National League average in getting runners home from third with less than 2 outs. Nice play by Derek Norris. Today's Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Tara Kavanaugh of Ardmore. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game. Then Tara, Ben, will win $100.
Well, good luck, Tara.
On the inside corner, 2 balls and 1 strike. Tyson Ross was an all-star last year, despite the fact that he finished the season with a 13-14 record. But before the all-star break, he was one of the better pitchers in baseball. Outside, 3-1. His name was bouncing around before the July 31st trade deadline. Some folks thought he was going to be dealt to the Chicago Cubs. Throws a breaking ball with the count 3-1. So 3 balls and 2 strikes.
It's just a cutter here. Actually more of a slider, I guess you would say.
Yeah, he throws both slider and cutter. And you see the home run rate. He's only allowed 4 and just 1 since the 28th of April, which is incredible. Chop a foul. He throws another breaking pitch. Yeah, the repertoire for Tyson Ross: fastball, slider, cutter, and changeup. The changeup being the lightest of the 4 percentage-wise.
See the infield come in here. They weren't as far in early on in the count, but now with 2 strikes, obviously Odubel needs to be a little bit more protective.
And he hits it back toward the middle, a base hit. That'll score Utley from third, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. Odubel Herrera's hitting streak is up to 11 consecutive games. Oh, what a nice job. All the way around.
Some tough pitches. Very, very tough pitches. Works himself into a good 3-1 count. Ross throws him a good slider down, and then he swings over top, then fouls one off, and then gets a pitch he's able to fist up the middle. And this is where you like having that drawn-in infield. Very nice job of hitting there by Odubel.
Well, now Michael Franco, who's hit an 8 of 9. Takes high, 1 ball, no strikes. Franco overall hitting .282 with 12 homers and 47 runs batted in. Runner goes. Pitch is taken low. Throw to second by Norris is not in time.
Gets a good jump. High leg kick. Just outruns the baseball.
It was close.
It was. Norris did a good job getting rid of the ball quickly.
Well, he's thrown out 27 base runners trying to steal this year. That's a lot.
He's got a decent arm, but he makes up his time with his footwork. Very quick to his feet.
Ground ball to shortstop. Gobbled up by Barmes. Herrera is going to try to go to third. The throw to third on 1 hop, not in time. Boy, he is feisty. It's been a while since we've seen somebody with that kind of style. That aggressiveness. I guess Chase Utley's the closest thing to it.
Yeah. Well, you might think this is not a very smart play, but again, it's early enough in the ball game. Ross does have a tendency to bounce some pitches, so maybe Big Piece gets one in the dirt. He's able to score in a wild pitch. You never know.
Ryan Howard, his 19th home run of the season yesterday. Checks his swing on that cutter, and it's 1 ball and no strikes.
And there we see it right there, ball in the dirt. It just needs to be, far enough away from Norris where Odubel can score.
Howard, 26 RBIs since the 5th of July, second most in National League Baseball. He just looked like he was expecting something other than the fastball there, and he swings through it. 1 ball, 1 strike. There you go, in the dirt. Here comes Herrera. The flip to Ross, not in time. Odubel Herrera scores on a wild pitch. He had a good secondary lead, and the Phillies lead it 2-0.
I got chill bumps right now, Tom. That fires me up. I love that stuff. I'm telling you, getting over to third base, and exactly what I was talking about. A ball just needs to get far enough away, and it almost looked like Ross was just napping. He's like, there's no ways. This ball's not far enough away. He just outran Tyson Ross.
Great slide, too, to the back end of home plate. Well, Odubel had himself a heck of a path around the bases.
That is the epitome of manufacturing a run.
Another one that gets past Norris. It's 3 balls and 1 strike. That young man's going to have a hop in his step for the rest of the game after the way this first inning went.
Awesome.
All 4, and Howard draws a walk. Tyson Ross is first in the National League in walks. That's the 64th of the year. Darren Balsley coming out. He is among the leaders in the lowest percentage of strikes, so I guess you can say he's effectively wild.
You see him up there in strikeouts, though, because you can see he's got great movement on his pitches.
Well, he's had 7 games this year, Ben, and this isn't going to work for a starting pitcher. 7 games this year where he's walked 4 batters or more.
Seven?
7. 4 or more. A couple of games with 5. Dominic Brown, who was 1 for 5 with a home run last night. Chops that one right to the first baseman. Side is retired, but the Phillies do get 2. It all begins with the leadoff double by Chase Utley, but Odubel Herrera certainly energized the ball club, not only at bat, but also on the base paths. Let's take a look at the Padres lineup, brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Phillies. Solarte leads it off at third, then Derek Norris and Matt Kemp. Justin Upton is the cleanup batter. Jed Jerko bats fifth. Yonder Alonso sixth. At the bottom third of Barmes, Melvin Upton Jr. and Tyson Ross. And they'll face left-hander Adam Morgan. Adam 2-3 on the year. The Phillies are 4-3 in his 7 games. 42 hits and 38 1/3. He really had trouble getting his fastball command together in his last outing, Ben.
And that's why I made that one of the keys for tonight. He needs to establish his fastball. He needs to throw it in. Because let's face it, I mean, his out pitches is just off speed. We look at his velocity, average velocity on his fastball, 88.6, curve, change, and a slider. And opposition only hitting 200 against that slider.
2 balls and no strikes to Yangervis Solarte, hitting 12 of 13. Ground ball to third. So 1 away. Adam Morgan in his last outing went 5 innings, allowed 7 hits and 4 earned runs to the Atlanta Braves. Walked 3, struck out 1. There are numbers that are getting better for Adam since the All-Star break. Left-handers are hitting .211 against him, whereas they were hitting .286 before. Derek Norris takes off the outside part of the plate, 1-0. Derek Norris hitting .241, 12 homers, 52 runs batted in. He had a couple of hits in yesterday's game. Did a nice job going the other way in yesterday's game.
Well, he is a guy that will use the whole field.
Pat Murphy, the interim manager for the San Diego Padres. They got to get the man a brown sweatshirt. He's wearing a blue sweatshirt with a brown hat. Swing and a miss. He got him. Strikeout number 1 for Adam. During the 2015 season, Turkey Hill, the official ice cream of the Phillies, will contribute $100 for each Phillies victory and 5 cents for each carton of Phillies Grand Slam ice cream, sold to support the Phillies youth baseball and softball programs. Matt Kemp is the hitter. Kemp wound up with a base hit in his final at bat last night. He also walked once. It was interesting listening to Pete McCannon talk today about Adam Morgan. They still feel like he's going to be able to get back up to the low 90s with his fastball. It may not be this year consistently, but maybe with a full off season. That pitch there at 88 miles an hour, which is where he's basically been sitting. Wouldn't you agree? 88, 89 miles an hour?
I would say so. And I think he is a kid, you know, he's young enough where he could continue to build some arm strength. I mean, if it was there before, you're going to be able to get that back once you get those muscles 100% healthy again and strong.
2-1 pitch to Kemp. Popped it up. Ryan Howard will go over toward the rail. It's going to be back into the seats. And it's 2-2. I thought the other thing that was interesting was he talked about being free and easy. He still thinks that, and he said Bob McClure had said this, that Adam is still a little stiff at times in his delivery, that he'll continue to loosen up and get better at that. And they don't know if it's because of the surgery or if it's because of the injury before. Well, he gets another strikeout, though. Throws a changeup. Back-to-back strikeouts for Morgan. A nice first inning for the lefty. We'll go to the top of the second. Cody Ashley will get his first look at Tyson Ross when we come back. Back to Citizens Bank Park on Monday, August 24th through the 27th of August. 4 games, all at 7:05. Tickets can be purchased anytime by going to Phillies.com. Cody Ashley leads it off here in the top of the second. Great giveaway tonight. You just saw a portion of that giveaway. Fans were given either a Gary Templeton jersey or a Benito Santiago jersey when they came through the gates. And it's all fans. It's not just kids. It's everybody. I don't know if there was a choice, though. I don't know if you said, I want Santiago or I want Templeton. But there's obviously a lot of them all around the ballpark, and it's a great crowd for this Saturday night. Not only is the stadium pretty much filled, except for some seats out in right field in the upper deck, but the park is filled out in center field.
Would you consider that a berm?
Yeah, I would. Oh, this has Murph written all over it. Nope. Aaron Harang was the closest to it. You would have caught that one, I think. It was softly hit.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one to make your bark with. Did Aaron catch that?
He bobbled it.
He did. I thought he did.
2-2 pitch. Ground ball foul. To the right side. Jerko can't get it. It's into center field. A base hit. Cody Ashley with a 3-game hitting streak. He must have been shaded way over, because that ball was not hit that hard, and it had a pretty nice bounce to it.
It was not hit that hard, and it's hit pretty much straight away second base. You can see Jerko's almost not even in the picture. I mean, he gets started here, and at first I'm thinking, oh, Cody, you rolled over a fastball away. Go with it. The next thing I know, it's up the middle for a hit.
Yeah.
It's a ting of beauty.
Here's Cameron Rupp. Rupp was 1 for 5 in last night's game. The one was a home run to straightaway center field. And a chopper back toward the middle. That should be 2. (6-4-3) double play.
That one was about as tailor-made as you could ask for.
And now Adam Morgan. Adam with 1 hit and 12 official at bats. It's remarkable how many pitches he throws in that general area that get by the catcher.
Yanking him.
Tonight's game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television or change the language through the menu on your cable box.
See.
Bill and Angel and Will are back at Citizens Bank Park calling all the action for tonight's game. They will be with us in Milwaukee as Morgan goes down looking. First strikeout for Tyson Ross. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left for the Phils. An inning and a half in the books with the Phillies on top 2-0. Insiders on Countdown to Kickoff every morning and every night on Sportsnet Central, only on Comcast Sportsnet. Some of the teams are playing against other teams, you know, in these little scrimmages and these little practices. Not games, they're just practicing against other teams. There was a huge skirmish today between the Redskins and the Texans. They were practicing together in Richmond, and it didn't go well.
Didn't go as planned, huh?
Did not go as planned. Kind of like the Hall of Fame ceremonies tonight.
When you say skirmish, how big are we talking?
I mean, there was some shoving going on. It was broken up after, you know, before anything bad happened. Adam Morgan, as we begin the second, will face Justin Upton, Jed Jerko, and Yonder Alonso. Upton 2 for 4 in last night's game with a triple to right field. Take strike one. It's 0-1. Does look like they're trying to establish that fastball.
Well, again, it will just make those off-speed pitches that much more effective. I mean, they know how Adam Morgan's going to try and get them out. But if you're not able to establish that fastball, then you're really going to be looking for off-speed pitches.
He may have broken his bat. Herrera's got a long way to go to make that catch. Well, he got away with that one, didn't he?
He did. But he got it in there far enough. I believe he broke his bat.
Oh, yeah.
It's not exactly where he wanted it. But you're right, Tom. He got away with one.
Yeah, Cameron wanted it down and away. Jerko takes inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Jerko 229 with 6 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Out to center field. Odubel going back on it toward the wall and makes the catch. I don't know where the little leap has come from, but Phillies baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you.
Yeah, it almost looked like, you know, a wide receiver sometimes take that little hop before they go up for a catch.
Yeah.
That's kind of looked like what he's doing now. I don't get it. Watch his little. He got to it.
He's different.
He does have some good closing speed.
Well, we talked about the distance he travels to catch fly balls. That on average, and they have stats for this, he travels 58 feet, which is the most in baseball. I talked to Juan Samuel about that, and he said, you know, that's interesting. I said, do you think it's scouting reports? He said, well, part of it is the ground ball goes to first. He said the other part of it is that he does intentionally position Odubel a few steps to the left or a few steps to the right, depending on what hitter is up at the plates. 2-0 Phillies on top after a 7-pitch inning for Adam Morgan. We'll go to the third. Section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Ben, you should know this because you guys have a fraternity going. Who holds the Padres record for most home runs in a season by a catcher? It's not you, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Answer will be revealed a little later on.
Thanks for bringing that up, though, Tom.
We go to the top of the third. Chase Utley leads it off. He doubled his first time up. Takes strike one. Utley with 8 doubles now. Pretty good chance that he'll have tomorrow off, according to Pete Buchanan. Pete said he took him out after 9 innings last night, he said, because he didn't want to press it. And it also was part of a switch where he felt like he had to get more than 1 inning out of the pitcher who was in at the time.
Yeah, I think it was more so with the double switch. I watched Chase on that double. I didn't even watch where the ball went. I just watched him run. He looked just like he always does.
1-2 pitch. Back toward the middle. Diving stop by Barnes. The throw to first is dug out by Yonder Alonso. Well, right there, he was moving up the line. Robbed of a hit by Clint Barmes.
That just stinks. Now, as a hitter, you think you got one up the middle? It's a good play all the way around. especially good play by Yonder Alonso, because it was a longer, it wasn't just that pure short hop. Barnes gets up and fires it. They're the tough ones, the one that are those long hops. They're the tough. You don't know if it's going to come up high. You don't know if it's going to stay down low. Good play there by Yonder.
Cesar Hernandez is 0 for 1. He grounded out his first time up, and it's 1 ball, no strikes. Cesar grounded out, but on the play he moved Utley over to third base, and that set up the base hit for Herrera to drive in the first run. And Cesar serves it the other way, a 1-out single. Well, here's Odubel Herrera. This is what he did his last time.
Takes a breaking ball, knocks it up the middle to knock in Chase Utley. Then Odubel swipes second base. Goes to third base on this, just a 6-3, advances. You never know what you can do on a pass ball. This is just beating Tyson Ross to home plate to score the second run of the ball game and of the inning.
Marf, it seemed like the dugout was pretty energized by Odubel when he came back in.
It's fun to watch when he comes back in because, half the guys are congratulating him, the other half are making fun of his little leap out there in center field. But, it's all in good fun, and it's funny you use the word energize. And I think that's exactly the word that we've been using since spring training when talking about Odubel Herrera. The first time we got a chance to see him, I mean, that's the kind of player he was, a guy that, kind of made things happen. And I think it's part of the reason that he made the team and that he's had the success that he's had. And, you look at, he's batting third tonight, which is, Pete McCannon was asked about that. And he said, why not? He's been an aggressive kind of guy. And, as you mentioned, he was looking to, split up the lefties at the top of that lineup. And he thought Herrera was the best guy for the spot in batting third tonight. You look at his numbers since July the 1st. How about batting .368, a .400 on-base percentage, and hitting for extra power? He's got 8 doubles, a triple, and 3 home runs in that time period as well. So Odubel Herrera has really, it's amazing to think of the Rule 5 guy never playing above the AA level, to think what he's been able to do 2/3 of the way into this rookie season of his.
And just getting better. And that's the big thing. I mean, he was struggling for a time. As Hernandez goes, the throw is a one-hopper, and he'll steal second base. Some guys go the other way after jumping out to a good start. He jumped out to a good start, went the other way, but then adjusted and came back. Now, in between innings, he was met by Juan Samuel in the dugout, and they were discussing the little leap that Murph talked about. Watch Sammy at one point here. He's going through it, going through it.
Whoop, don't do that.
Let's try to tell him that his eye level will be all screwed up if he does that.
Hey, Tom, how about this cool note from Jake Kaplan from the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Phillies beat writer out there. He noted that Herrera has now batted first, second, third, fifth, 6th, 7th, and 8th in the lineup this season. He has not batted 4th, and he has not batted 9th. He's batted everywhere else in the lineup. That is a versatile kind of offensive player.
Yeah, his average is up to 288 now after that base hit his last time up. 2 balls, 1 strike with a runner at second base. Inside, 3-1.
It's always good to be reminded of what you should and shouldn't do. Outfielders are always taught run on the balls of your feet. If you run on the heels, then the ball will bounce on you. And try it. I mean, just think about it. The more you're on the heels of your feet, the ball can just change different directions. You might end up catching off the heel, and it's an error.
Ground ball foul, 3-2. Yeah, what Sammy was saying, I mean, there was a lot of laughing going on in the dugout and good-natured ribbing. But he was serious when he said, when you leap like that, it will change the eye level. There may be a time where it causes you to miss a ball.
Yeah. Same way at the home plate. If you take your stride and your head pops up, you stand up, your legs get more erect, or you come down, it's going to change the eye level. It's going to make the ball jump on you.
3 balls, 2 strikes with a runner at second. That one is a line drive past Jerko into right center field. Hernandez will score. It's an RBI single for Herrera, and it's now a 3-0 Phillies lead. 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs for Odubel Herrera.
I don't know about you, Tom, but this is fun baseball to watch. It's exciting. Yeah, they're scoring some runs, but they're doing it in such a great way. Odubel, again, putting together a very good at bat. I don't know why they have all these lefties shaded so far out of position.
I'm with you. Because you have a second baseman that probably doesn't have the greatest range.
No.
Odubel's already stolen a base tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe see a pitch out here.
Got a good sized lead. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Rays have defeated the Mets 5-4. Grady Sizemore drove in 2, had a home run, also made a pretty good defensive play. There goes Herrera. The pitch is swung on and missed. The throw to second on one hop is not in time. Second stolen base of the night for Herrera, and the third overall for the Phillies. Well, this is a fun kind of baseball to watch.
It is, and honestly, not the best jump, but it gets the job done. Norris is probably thinking to himself, hey, Tyson, give me a little bit more time, would you? You're killing me back here.
Two balls, one strike to Maikel Franco. The pitch backed up on the inside part of the plate. Mentioned that he has a cutter in his repertoire, and that was it right there.
That is one that Maikel would like to see again. I just don't see a very fluid release point out of him right now. It's like he's getting to his release point and just yanking everything. Like he's trying to create either movement or velocity, and it's not working for him.
I think that ball bounced up and hit Franco. That foul ball.
Sure did.
Yeah.
See Maikel getting a little bit wider there and going with the no stride approach.
No breaking ball, and he waves at it. Second strikeout for Ross. Two outs. Ryan Howard's coming up. Talking to Ryan today about last night's home run and what happened prior to it, when the home plate umpire Mike Estabrook told him to get back in the box. Ryan said he was kind of taken aback by it because he said, I don't usually say anything. He said, but I was telling him that if he was going to call the pitch that he had just called on me a strike, that he needs to call it against the Padres. He said, because our pitcher needs it as well. And he said, Estabrook said, get back in the box. He said, okay, I'll get back in the box, but I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here?
1-0 to Ryan Howard. Inside 2-0. Kemmer and Rupp said that he did talk to Estabrook right at the end of the game last night, before the end of it. And he said to him, all right, Mike, well, we got through it.
We made it through. Sure would like it to be 4-0.
It would be great. Two balls, 2 strikes to Howard. Velocity-wise, that would go down as a slider.
Yeah, but I think it was more of a changeup.
It did look more like a changeup, didn't it?
Like there was any break to it.
There goes Herrera. Pitch is swung on and missed. That was a slider. Back-to-back strikeouts for Ross. Side is retired, but the Phillies get another one. Odubel Herrera's had himself quite a night so far. The catch, the conversation, the wheels again, and then the aggressiveness. 3-0 Phils as we go to the bottom half of the third. Call 1-800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. Buy Toyota. Where will Toyota take you? Visit buyatoyota.com to find out. Toyota, let's go places. And buy McDonald's. Double the love at McDonald's with a double cheeseburger and small fry for just $2.50. McDonald's, I'm loving it. 3-0 Phillies on top. Man, there's some sights to see out here. Basically what we see outside our hotel window.
Coronado Island.
Yep. We start the home third. Clint Barmas takes strike one. Barmas is hitting .260, the veteran. Oh, 2. Not too shabby a backup infielder. He could play all 4 infield positions. He can even get to the outfield if he needs to. He hits this one out toward the outfield in shallow right, slicing toward Brown. And there's one away.
To be honest with you, I don't know why he's not playing more. I mean, Amarista is not going to cover up ball. I just think last night he started last night's ball game at 208. Obama's there at 260. You're not giving up a whole lot defensively at shortstop. So I think if they continue to not score as many runs, you might see him in there, Barmas, a little bit more. Amarista walked by me today during batting practice. I can't believe how little he is.
Well, you're also pretty tall.
I know, but he is a little fella.
Yeah, he is tiny. A 1 pitch. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Melvin Upton hitting .228 with 3 home runs and remarkably just 8 RBIs.
With the exception of his brother, I think all their RBI levels are down.
3 strikeouts for Morgan. 102 at-bats, 8 RBIs.
Change up, straight change. Last night I was talking about James Shields and how he's aggressive in throwing that change up. You see right there him really throwing. It's the same arm motion that he has with his fastball. It's just how you hold that baseball is going to determine the velocity. Very aggressive through the baseball, down with the baseball. And ultimately a good result.
Tyson Ross does have a home run this year, hitting .189. And then he cuts at that one. It's 1 ball, 1 strike.
Before we came over today, I was watching the Pirates and the Dodgers, and Liriano took Lato's opposite field in Pittsburgh.
Did he really?
Yes. For his first big league home run.
Yeah, he's not known as a hitter with pop. Or a pitcher.
I couldn't believe it. And then it took him 47 seconds to get around the bases. He enjoyed every second of it.
Enjoying every bit of it. Swing and a miss. He got him. 4 strikeouts for Morgan. 9 up, 9 down for the Phillies left-hander. And we've played our first 3 innings here at San Diego. A good start for the Phils. Let's see if they can sustain it as we move forward. Huge selection of laminators and shredders. Whether you're preserving your best work or safely destroying your most confidential documents, Swingline and WB Mason deliver a cut above the rest. Who but WB Mason? Ben, somebody is not handling his duties.
Not so much concerned with raking the infield, is
nope.
He's getting down, though.
But he is one heck of a dancer. Uh-oh.
If I did that, I'd be in traction.
Jerome Williams did that in Baltimore, and he went on the disabled list. There's Dominic Brown, and he takes strike 1. As we begin the top of the 4th inning, Phillies lead at 3-0. Brown grounded out to first his first time up. Inside. Another one to the right side, handled by Jerko, and 1 away. Cody Ashley's coming up. Every day is fun when you spend it at a Phillies game with your group of 25 or more. Take advantage of special group opportunities, including discounts, theme nights, party areas, and much more. No matter what size group, there are always benefits and special options. For more information, check out Phillies.com/group tickets. That is the group of a little more than 100 folks who came out as part of the Phillies road trips to San Diego. Scott Palmer and Greg Luzinski are part of that group. I saw the bull wander in the streets of San Diego today, looking for some barbecue.
I was walking the streets earlier. A lot of Philly fans. Out. You know, with this weather, though, it does afford. A lot of the bars and restaurants around here open. The windows are always just people just sitting out having a good old time. And the streets were busy early.
Well, it certainly is a good place to visit.
I tweeted last night. I said, you know, PA is where I'll always live. You know, it's where I'm from, and I love living there. But I sure do miss some days here in San Diego.
It is, weather-wise, it is wonderful.
And I've told numerous people, coming from somewhere that has 4 seasons,
right,
literally, to coming out here, every morning I'd wake up and think, it's got to be different today.
On the inside corner, and ran back. 4th strikeout for Tyson Ross. Two outs. Cameron Rupp's coming up. Breaking ball, and it's 0-1. Great story that evolved earlier this year when Tyson Ross's brother Joe, who pitches for the Nationals, made his major league debut. The Padres, I thought this was a really classy move. You know, it was in between starts for Tyson. They enabled him to fly to D.C. to watch his brother's major league debut. He talked about cool. He talked about what a special moment it was to watch his younger brother make his major league debut. Cameron Rupp lines one deep to left field. Going back on it is Upton. He's got room, and he makes the catch. I'm telling you, balls used to fly out in left field. They don't fly out in left field as much anymore, at least in these first 2 games. Phillies go down 1-2-3, and we'll head to the bottom of the 4th. Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Delval Honda dealer or visit DelvalHondaDealers.com. And by Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Home half of the 4th inning. Phillies 3, Padres nothing. Adam Morgan will face the Padres for a 2nd time through the order, beginning right now. He has not allowed a base runner. Are there any adjustments you want to now see from Adam after facing the first 9 hitters? Is there anything that stands out?
No. Keep doing it until they make the adjustments. You don't have to make one.
Solarte grounded out to third his first time up. Working ahead has been important. It's for any pitcher, but for Adam, it's been really important today to work ahead. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Steven Strasburg off the DL struck out 12 today in 7 innings. He also picked up a couple of hits along the way. As the Nationals defeated the Rockies that are now 1.5 out in the National League East.
He went down with that oblique injury. If anyone out there has had one, it is a devastating injury. It affects everything you do, that oblique muscle.
There's a looper out to right field. That'll drop for the first hit for the Padres. A single the opposite way for Solarte, 3rd hit of the series. And for the first time tonight, Adam Morgan will work from the stretch.
I like this Solarte. Nice game last night, hitting left-handed. Obviously a switch hitter. Had a few last night. A couple, I should say. Looks good.
Padres got him last year from the New York Yankees. Derek Norris struck out his first time up.
You and I were on the same page.
I think we were. A bit high, 89 on that fastball. 2 balls, 1 strike to Norris. He'll be followed by Matt Kemp. There's a liner out towards center field, a base hit. Solarte's thinking about going to third. Herrera's throw will go to second base. And the Padres have first and third with nobody out here in the 4th. All right, so now the Padres have adjusted. They're not trying to pull Adam Morgan, which is the right game plan, to not pull him if you're a right-handed batter.
You're exactly right. First time through that lineup, a lot of these righties pulling off pitches, trying to do a little too much. See Solarte with the ball to right field, Norris there with the ball to center field. That lends me to believe the fact that, yeah, they're making adjustments and just say, you know what, we'll take our knocks up the middle.
So now the Phillies will set up for 2. They'll concede the run to try to turn a double play as they lead it by 3.
Trade a run for 2 outs any day of the week here.
Kemp fouls it away. It's 0-1.
Play by Cameron there. Smother that pitch.
Line drive, base hit to center field. A run will score. That's 3 straight hits. Ball is bobbled by Herrera. Norris is going to go to third. The throw to third, and that's not a smart play. He is out at third base. Pudock goes 8-5 at third base. It is an RBI single for Matt Kemp, but that's a huge out for Adam Morgan and the Phils.
Not a smart play. I mean, the play's right there in front of you. First of all, he hesitates because he doesn't know if that ball is going to be caught or not by Cesar at shortstop. The play's right in front of you. I mean, that's just, you know, you have a little bit of, not a little bit, you have a lot of momentum going right there. 3 hits in a row, and then you go and make the first out at third base.
Now a double play can get Morgan out of it. He's got Justin Upton coming up. He flied to center his first time up. Matt Kemp has stolen 9 bases. He saw that move. Bit low, 1 ball, no strikes. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Trying to get him to roll over on an off-speed pitch there.
Yeah, and he got away with one his first at bat. We talked about it was supposed to be a sinker down and away. Ends up, I mean, center cut, middle in. Ends up breaking his bat. But yeah, if you could get him to roll one over, get out of this.
Kemp's got a bigger lead off first. Just a bit low. 3-0.
Was it?
A couple close pitches during this inning. Jed Jerko's on deck.
Green light him here?
I think he's got a green light.
I think so.
And ball 4. So 2 on. Boy, that play by Norris is even bigger now. 2 on with 1 out, and Jed Jerko's coming up. It's time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag #PhillyPhotoDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. I don't know if he was totally upset that he walked Upton there. I mean, he wanted to go after him, obviously. But you've got Jerko, who flied out to center field. He hit it pretty well.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. Might not be the worst thing that you walk him, but the only problem I have with it, you still have a 2-run lead.
Right.
You know, you'd like to be
a little more aggressive.
A little bit more aggressive.
Adams not having as easy a time working ahead of the hitters in this inning as he did previously.
One thing I have noticed this inning is, you know, he keeps checking out at the base runners. They're probably not going anywhere in this situation. I'd like to see him pick up the target a little bit sooner. Seems like he's just swinging his head and letting it go. You know, if you're so fixated on a runner that you're not picking up where you want to throw the baseball to, you're not going to be successful.
McClure looking at his scouting reports, all his splits. In the air to center field. That's pretty well hit. Going back on it is Herrera back to the fence. He makes the catch. Upton was all the way at second base, so he goes back to first, and Kemp will go to third. 2 outs after a long out by Jed Jerko. And now Yonder Alonso's coming up.
Ball's hit entirely too far and entirely too hard to not be able to show anything for it. Phillies will take it. And the way they have swung the bats to if he could get out of this with just the 1 run,
be huge.
It'd be really big.
And then you have the bottom of the order to deal with, hopefully in the bottom of the 5th inning. But first, Yonder Alonso grounded out to Ryan Howard his first time up. Alonso with 25 RBIs this year. Derek Norris has talked to Pat Murphy. He's talked to Mark Kotze. It was his base running mistake that led to the first out of this inning. There's Kotze with the beard talking to Dave Roberts. Ground ball to second base. Utley's up with it. Boy, what a job by Adam Morgan. Helped out, obviously, by the base running mistake by Derek Norris. But he allows 1 run. He leaves 2. We've played 4. We'll move to the 5th inning. The Phillies still have the lead. It's a 3-1 ball game. All right, Ben, here we go. Who holds the Padres record for most home runs in a season by a catcher? What was the most you hit? 13?
11.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are not the right answer.
I'm going to say Benito Santiago.
Benito Santiago would be a great guess, but it is incorrect. Mike Piazza hit 20 in 2006 for the Padres.
That's a trick question.
Is that because a certain catcher went into the Hall of Fame tonight?
It was.
Santiago was not necessarily a home run hitter with the Padres. He was for the Phillies that one year. He had 30 home runs.
I was surprised he only had 85 career homers.
Yeah. Well, he got bigger as his career went on. Got stronger, I should say.
Stronger.
Adam Morgan struck out his first time up. Boy, that ball had some sink on it, didn't it? 2-2. Swing and a miss. And 1 out, 5 strikeouts for Tyson Ross. Follow the Phillies wherever you are with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet. I thought Benito Santiago said something interesting today during his speech that I think there are a lot of players that feel this way. He said, I wish I never left San Diego. I wish I played my entire career for the Padres. And I'm not saying that players say that about San Diego. I just think that sometimes they think the grass is greener somewhere else.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of players would say that. Remember, too, though, it's a different market here. But would I have liked to spend my whole career in San Diego? I wouldn't have minded.
Ground ball to third, right at Solarte. Utley is retired. 2 outs.
I was very fortunate to be called up at the end of the '98 season when they went to the World Series, and to see Qualcomm or Jack Murphy, whatever you want to call it, 60,000 people there. You know, they took me to the first series against the Astros and came back, and the ball games were just exhilarating.
Were you on the roster?
I was not on the roster.
Cesar grounds one to second base, but this is going to be a fast inning for Tyson Ross. A pretty quick one. He's retired 8 consecutive batters since the RBI single by Odubel Herrera in the third. Middle of the fifth, it's the Phillies 3 and the Padres 1. Citizens Bank. The Phillies Junior RBI League has been teaching kids how to play the game since 1989. Donate a baseball glove or two to the next generation of baseball greats at the Citizens Bank kiosk at Citizens Bank Park. At Citizens Bank, we want to help you bank better. So the next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. Home half of the fifth inning on a beautiful Saturday night here in San Diego. Clint Barmas will lead it off. It'll be Barmas, Melvin Upton, Tyson Ross against Adam Morgan. Popped him up. That'll be out of play. Not a whole lot of room behind home plate. Less than at Qualcomm. Well, you see the difference the first time through to the second time through. That's not strange to see. The adjustments that hitters make. Out toward left field. That's pretty well hit, but it's going to stay in the yard. And Ashley puts it away for the first out. Here is Melvin, who struck out his first time up. I think I got it, though, Ben. I don't think I'm going to call him BJ anymore. I think I'm through it. Ground ball off the foot of Melvin Upton. No balls and 1 strike. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. It is time for our Coors Banquet Timeless Moment, and I'm going to take you back to a simpler time on this date back in 2014. You remember that, right? Brothers Justin and, at the time, B.J. Upton both homered in Atlanta's 7-6 win over Washington. It was the 5th time that they did so in the same game, setting a new Major League Baseball record. They were previously tied with the Guerrero brothers and the Giambi brothers, but they broke that record. Number 5. It was a simpler time back then.
Simple times.
Yeah.
Vladimir and Wilson Guerrero, right? Is that
is correct?
Right?
Yep. And Jeremy and Jason.
Yeah. Former Phil, Jeremy Giambi. 1 ball, 1 strike to Upton. Outside, 2-1. Yeah, the Braves thought they would do that more often. They would shatter that record without even blinking an eye. Took them over a year. Justin held up his end of the bargain. BJ at the time didn't.
Referred to him as the artist formerly known as.
Correct.
BJ Upton.
How do you lose what he had so fast? You know, it's amazing. I know you talked about your bat speed, that you felt like you lost it overnight. But how do you lose his skills that quickly?
He went downhill in a hurry. I know when he was a free agent, you know, there's a lot of talk about him coming to Philadelphia, and I'm thinking, you know what, I really hope that move is not made. And it wasn't. But I just think, I don't know, he just want consistency, and I didn't see that in him. But you're right. I mean, it's gone.
Tyson Ross struck out his first time up. His only time up. He shows bunt, takes inside, 1-0. I guess the next question is, can he ever get it back? I don't know if you can, unless you make drastic changes to your game. I mean, he's got great speed, and he's gifted athletically. This will only be the 60th pitch of the night for Adam Morgan.
Fans at home, if you heard that loud thumping noise.
You didn't fall over.
I did not fall over. I was punching the desk.
That one's out toward the alley in right center field. It'll be a base hit. It'll be an extra base hit for Ross. On his way to second, he'll stop there. A 2-out double. His first double of the year. His 3rd extra base hit of the year.
Got to lay one in there. You don't want to walk the pitcher. Not the prettiest of swings, but I think his size helped there in delivering that ball at right center field gap.
Yep, 6'5". Swing and a miss by Solarte, and it's 0-1, and that backswing got a piece of Rupp, or the ball got a piece of Rupp.
I think it
was it the backswing?
I think it may have got him underneath
in the groin. Scott Sheridan quickly comes out. He had to lean forward to smother this ball, and
boink.
Helmet's okay. He seems to be okay.
Well, I'm sure he's actually pleased it was his head, as the aforementioned. Hey, they never really bothered me. You know, I don't know. I guess there wasn't a whole lot up there to hurt, but.
And you never used the hockey style mask?
No. It just squished my jaw. I couldn't.
I remember you saying that did something that was uncomfortable. That one's back toward the middle, off the mound, picked on one hop by Chase Utley, and the side is retired. So they had him positioned perfectly. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left in scoring position, 5 in the books. So Odubel Herrera will lead it off when we come back. Toronto Blue Jays, and you can prepare to receive a Larry Boa Bobble figurine. Compliments of Toyota. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Great giveaway. Phillies lead it 3-1. Adam Morgan has had one real rough inning. That's it. He's pitched really well here tonight.
He has, and they started to make those adjustments back in that 4th inning where they got the run. But he's really done a good job. The changeup for me, we know about the slider, especially the lefties. But the changeup has been a very good pitch, very effective for him in keeping him off that slider. Has thrown it when he's needed to, but the changeup, he is aggressive with it tonight. I like to see it.
5 innings so far, 4 hits. Sitting next to Freddie Galvis in the dugout. Freddie's got his catcher's mitt on just to make sure he's ready.
I bet Freddie could catch.
He probably could.
Absolutely could.
Here's Odubel, who is 2 for 2. His average up to 291. He now has 93 hits. Freddie Galvis leads the Phils with over 100 hits. But Odubel, who has not played as much as Freddie, is getting there. Outside, 1 ball, no strikes.
And Tyson Ross has really gotten into a rhythm here. He retired the last 9, I believe. Last 8. But he came out, and I'm not making excuses for him or Adam Morgan or anybody, but he came out on the mound after that long, lengthy ceremony and actually played catch with Derek Norris from the top of the mound. And Derek Norris was not in the squatting position, almost like he had warmed up, was ready to rock and roll, and then his arm just got cold, like he had to go back in after pitching an inning. And yeah. I think pitchers are I was the same way, very routine oriented. They know the exact time when they're coming out of the bullpen, when they're going back onto the mound to start the game. They're very routine oriented. I think that ceremony really screwed up his routine.
Swing and a miss. He picks up a strikeout, number 6. Now it's 9 in a row. Well, it's good that they jumped on him early then and got those 3 runs.
Yeah. That is a ton of movement. Supposed to be a front door sinker, ends up being Fastball up and away out of the zone. Odubel still swung.
That one's off the hands out towards center field. Upton is there to make the catch. 2 outs. Well, not only has he gotten into a rhythm, but it's a quick rhythm.
Ryan taking his good old time getting up there.
Yep.
There you see 9 pitches last inning, 6 thus far in the 6th.
Down low, 2 balls and no strikes to Ryan Howard. Howard is struck out. He's also walked tonight. Phillies with 3 runs in this ball game with 5 base hits. He's definitely commanded the strike zone better. There's not as many of those pitches that are down and in away from the catcher.
And I'm seeing a lot of late movement,
which is what he's known for.
Yeah.
Again, late movement. 7 strikeouts for Tyson Ross. He's now retired 11 consecutive batters. We move to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Phils still nursing a 2-run lead. The official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop Nissan.com. Bottom of the 6th, it's 3-1 in favor of the Phils. And Derek Norris will lead it off. Norris swings at the first pitch. That'll be out of play over the Padres dugout. That one's lined to left field right at Kobayashi. There's one out. Matt Kemp's coming up. It's time for our fan photo. Let's check in with Murph.
All right, well, thank you very much, Tom. As we told you earlier in the game, you get a chance to be on thanks to the folks from T-Mobile. Our selected fan photo of the game. Today's photo comes from D. Trigo 74, and it's Denise and her dad at the Phillies game. That's always a good one. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Philly Photo Data Strong Fan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's all brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Always nice to go to a ball game with Dad.
Absolutely. There are a lot of folks out here from Philadelphia. Fathers and sons, fathers and daughters. 1 ball, no strikes to Matt Kemp. Get a chance to enjoy the Phillies when they're at their peak right now as a team. Low and in, 2-0.
Tell you, I know how hard it is to get grass stains and dirt out of my son's clothes. That pine tar stain on Matt Kemp's left shoulder. I don't know how you would ever get that out.
Yeah, you got to scrub a little bit on that one. Chopper over to third, picked on the hop by Maikel Franco. 2 outs.
Really enjoy watching Maikel throw the ball across the diamond. It's just effortless.
Did a good job too of getting that before the hop went off the ground one more time.
Yeah, I really haven't seen in the time that he's been up, I really haven't seen him let the ball play him.
That one's fouled back to the screen. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a line drive, base hit it to left center field. Ashley's going to cut it off. As Upton's thinking 2, he's going to try for it. The throw to second base won't get there in time. Well, that was an aggressive attempt by Justin Upton. As it turns out, it was worthwhile for the Padres.
I'm not quite sure he was going to try and stretch that to a double. It's a good time to do it. See if you can get yourself in a scoring position. But once he sees the bobble by Kobayashi, it seemed like he turned on the jets. I think he would have made it into second base anyway. But you see him really turn it on here and gets into second base rather easily.
So they're going to score a single E7. So no double there. And Jerko swings at the first pitch. No balls, 1 strike. Oh my gosh, we found one. One ball, 1 strike. Back toward the middle, under the feet of Morgan, knocked down by Utley into shallow center field. Upton's going to score. RBI single, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
And that's the situation there. You'll see the catcher come out and say, all right, boys, knock it down. let him know how many outs there are. Chase does everything in his power to keep that ball corralled and in the infield to prevent Justin Upton from scoring. See Chase very frustrated with himself there. He did everything he could.
Well, the Upton aggressiveness really set that up.
And he just gets it just off the tip of his glove.
Man, does he go hard. It's very few times that you see Chase show any kind of frustration. That's a sort of an aggressive frustration right there, because he knows he probably wouldn't have gotten Jerko, but he would have held Upton at third base. Hector Neris warming up in the bullpen. Bob McClure out to talk to Adam Morgan.
Hey, look at it. It's only 74 pitches.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think, though, if they get him through this inning, they're going to be very content to go to the bullpen for hopefully the last 9 outs.
I don't know. They had 6 innings last night. Why not?
Well, you know,
you'll be towards the bottom of the lineup, which he's handled very easily.
Yeah, and to go back to what Pete said even before the game, I should correct myself. He said, listen, we're not training these guys to be 6-inning pitchers.
Yeah.
We're trying to get them to be 9-inning pitchers. So you're right. Maybe you get out of this, then you let them go. But it'll depend on what happens here. You got a tough hitter in Yonder Alonso, who's 0 for 2. 1 ball, no strikes.
Yonder before the game, he said, "Yo, Benny, what's up?" He goes, "That closer, he's got some good stuff." Although he didn't say stuff. I said, well, you managed one off from last night. He had broken bat signal to right field. He goes, "That was all luck." He goes, everybody was talking about Giles' stuff.
A bit outside.
I said, "You can chuck it."
Check swing. Did he go? Yes, says the third base umpire, Mike Estabrook. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Zepchinski the lefty, Kelly the righty. Barbas is on deck. This is the guy you want, though. Not only to set up what could be the 7th inning, but you got a lefty up. Fly ball center field. Odubel Herrera is under it. And that'll do it for the Padres here in the 6th inning. They do score a run. It's an earned run on a single by Jed Jerko. 3-2, Phillies on top. Time now for your Delaware Valley Honda dealers game summary. The Phillies lead at 3-2 thanks to 3 runs, 2 in the first, 1 in the third. Odubel Herrera's had quite the day so far. And Adam Morgan, 6 innings so far, 1 earned run. That last run was not earned. Matt Kemp and Jed Jerko have RBI singles. Adam Morgan received handshakes after the inning came to a close. So we're assuming that his day is done. And now Dominic Brown will lead it off as we go to the 7th inning. Brown is 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice. Once to first, once to second. Fouls that one off his foot.
Well, last time out, Don Brown had a great pitch to hit. I mean, that you can take a look there. That ball is center cut. But I want to watch when he gets to the point of contact. The momentum ends up going backwards. It ends up going back in this direction. You can see his legs, everything moving back towards the catcher. You want to get that momentum shifted out towards you can drive the baseball. Seems to me like he just got a very good pitch and tried to uppercut and drive it out.
That's a better swing there.
Very good swing there.
3 unassisted and 1 out here in the 7th. Well, Dominic Brown certainly has improved. The offense has improved. And here's our Geico quote of the day, Pete Mackanin, on that improved hitting. He said, let's give hitting coaches Steve Henderson and John Miserock some credit. It's finally getting through to these guys that what they need to do. Perhaps it's a good reason why they're hitting. They've been bombarded with it starting in spring training about how their approach should be. And their approach has been, I would say, more aggressive with good pitches.
Yeah, I'd say aggressive in the strike zone.
Yeah.
They're not taking as many strikes.
1 ball and 1 strike to Ashe.
But there's a perfect example there. Yeah, it was a strike. He took a 1-0 pitch. But what are you really going to do with that pitch?
Well, he has got some nasty movement lately. 8 strikeouts. He hasn't allowed a hit since the 3rd.
And why he's been so effective is because it's on both sides of the plate. I mean, I don't think they're picking up rotation. That's a breaking pitch there, breaking ball. But the pitch before that gets inside on Cody, so he's operating on that side of the plate. Then he goes back to the other side of the plate. You just can't protect both sides. Some easy 94.
That one's popped up. Playable for Alonso. And a 1-2-3 7th inning. That's a 10-pitch inning for Tyson Ross. Boy, after the first few innings, who would have thought he'd be here in the 7th? But he's minimized his pitches since. Great sign, and Odubel certainly has helped the Phils to this lead. It's a 3-2 ball game as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Every time the Phillies retire the opposing team 1-2-3, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity, the official entertainment provider of the Philadelphia Phillies. All right, so the bullpen is going to be charged with trying to get 9 outs. Genmar Gomez, his 48th game, a 2.11 ERA. 39 strikeouts in 55 1/3. He pitched in last night's ball game. Phillies bullpen last night, 6 scoreless innings. Can they do it again? During the open, we talked about how good it's been, the bullpen. A 1.89 ERA in the last 19 games, which is tops in Major League Baseball.
And they're throwing strikes. These guys are really, you know, talk about a fraternity. These guys have a fraternity down there. They trust in each other. They trust in their own stuff. It seems like they really believe in what they're trying to accomplish right now.
Vargas takes outside. It's 1-0. I think if you have a good bullpen, as you saw Larry Boa trying to adjust the infield, if you have a good bullpen, it has to be a competition. You know, Brad Lidge talked about that during alumni weekend about the 2008 bullpen, how it was a competition for those guys. Cole Hamels talked about that with the starting rotation, how it was a competition between Hamels, Lee, and Roy Halladay.
But I think they are having some fun down there. I mean, the ultimate goal for relievers is what? To be a closer, right? You want to be that guy. And only one way you can get to be the closer is by being dominant in your quote-unquote slot, whether that be a 16 or 17 guy.
You saw that action on that sinker right there by Genmar Gomez. That's the same kind of action that his changeup has, which is why he's been effective. That was the slider, and it's 2-2.
And that pitch there just coming out of his hand never even started as a strike. Two good guys for Adam Morgan to talk to. Aaron's telling him just see how far he'll give you and how far the hitters are willing to go. You keep chasing them, whether that be inside or outside. You've heard Aaron talk about that over and over. I'm going to see what I'm going to get.
That one's pulled foul.
Bob McClure have anything to say about getting ejected from last night's ball game?
He actually was very quiet about it. I said, I think that a lot of people were feeling the same way you were last night. He said, yeah, I think they were. He said, when the whole dugout is saying something, he said, then you know there's an issue. There's Mike Estabrook. Outside, 3-2. Padres do have bullpen action. The pitcher spot is due up third after Melvin Upton. It's a 4-man bench. Will Venable is back. Joaquin Benoit is the right-hander. Garces just called up today. Back up today is the lefty. And a line drive base hit to center field. That's a good at-bat by Barnes.
That was an excellent at-bat by Barnes. Battle, battle, battle.
Star Wars night will be Wednesday, August 19th, when the Phils take on the Toronto Blue Jays. It's presented by Kohl's. Come dressed as your favorite Star Wars character and be entertained by Star Wars characters, music, movie clips, and more. Go to Phillies.com/theme nights for more info or to order your tickets. Melvin struck out his first time up, grounded out to short his last time, 0 for 2. Bunts it foul.
Melvin doesn't look too enthusiastic about bunting.
I don't think he wanted to bunt. But Pat Murphy wants to tie this ball game up, or at least get in a position to tie it up.
Whammer.
People
First base
scattering
coach.
everywhere.
Jose Valentin at first base was like, he was not too enthusiastic about that throw over there to first. Whoa! Paul Konerko used to tell me inside that little man's body is Babe Ruth.
Upton tries to bunt again, pulls the bat back. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. And he bunts it in the air. Foul. Brett Wallace is the one swinging the bat around in the dugout for the Padres. We mentioned 1 of 4 on the bench for San Diego. They have the extra pitcher in the bullpen. B.J. Upton has sacrificed 1 time this year, 20 times during his career.
He's getting in the box here like he has no idea what the sign is. From his body language, that's what it looks like to me. Do I swing or do I bunt?
He's going to try to bunt again. He takes low. You surprised they're having him bunt again, 1 and 2?
No. I'm not surprised. If you could advance him here. I mean, I'd rather take my chances. Nothing against Melvin, but with him getting a bunt down than him getting a hit.
Squares again, and he bunts it toward first base. You got to hurry. He does run well. Gomez has it, throws, and it hits the runner. And everybody is safe.
Now they may take a look at this and see if he was inside the baseline here.
Yeah, Pete McCann's coming out. Yep.
I would have to say he was, because Chase Utley given a lane for Jim Moore to throw to.
Now that is not reviewable, but Ryan Blakeney can be asked whether he was or not. I don't know, Ben. He looked like, right there, he did go out.
He did. Chase lucky he didn't get spiked. Did look like he bowed out there, though.
He did. You know, he had established the baseline right on the chalk, but then at the last moment he went inside. Now it's not reviewable. They could ask the umpires to confer about it, the home plate umpire and the first base umpire, but they didn't do that. So there he's out, but now he's establishing the baseline right on the chalk. And there he went out, and it looked like he did step inside the line. So they do score a bunt single. Yeah, Pete McCannon just said you can't review that. I'm surprised that Paul Nart didn't ask the first base umpire what his thoughts were on that. So now they can keep Ross in, and Ross will try to sacrifice with runners on first and second and nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th. And he bunts it in the air. Genmar will leave it for Franco to make the catch. One away.
Can there be infield fly? He has to be camped. I don't think Michael was camped under that, but there can be an infield fly on a bunt, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Keep the bat head up, boys and girls. See him drop his bat head, making the ball get in the air.
So now Solarte, who's 1 for 3. Outside with a changeup, and it's 1 ball, no strikes. So Solarte grounded out to third as a right-handed hitter. His first time up, single to right field in the 4th, grounded out to second in the 5th. Adam Morgan still sitting watching. This is his game still. He can only win it. He can't lose it. But he needs the bullpen to get 8 more outs without allowing any more runs. Fly ball center field. Barmes is going to tag from second. Odubel makes the catch, and the runners will hold. 2 outs.
Genmar going over and backing up third. Better to be safe than sorry. There's always a place to be, Tom.
Some pitchers forget about that. Boa again adjusting the infielders. Good play by Rupp. I couldn't tell who he was moving. I think he was moving Ryan Howard over toward first base. Because Howard was out toward that hole a little bit more.
I'd like to see Ryan get a little deeper. You know,
I think Boa was moving him in. Now he's backpedaling.
Okay. It's one of those situations that we saw last inning. Same thing. You want to knock a ball down.
On the outside corner, 1 ball, 1 strike to Norris.
Even if you know it's going to be an infield single, you knock it down, prevent the run from scoring. So if Ryan back up a few steps, either down the line or in the hole, he can get to a ball.
We're up out to talk to Genmar Gomez. Matt Kemp on deck. A lot of thinking going on in those dugouts. What's the next step? Who's the next pitcher? What's the next move? Ground ball foul. It remains 2-2. Interesting. It seems like more cutters slash sliders from Genmar than sinkers in this inning.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And his pace.
A little more deliberate.
You think? He's almost like he's not comfortable out there.
Another foul ball. It remains 2-2.
There's a good sinker there. 92.
I just think his sinker is, when it's on and it runs, it's pretty devastating to these right-handed batters.
Double up in there.
He's shaking off signs before signs are even laid down.
Well, he doubled up in there.
Yeah, he did. Nards had a solid year last year as a member of the Oakland A's, helped them to the postseason. I think a lot of people were surprised when the A's traded him this past offseason. Padres acquired him and then traded their catcher from last year, Rene Rivera, to the Tampa Bay Rays.
I like Derek Norris.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Another ground ball foul.
That one, change up there. I like the way he catches. I like the way he receives the ball. His throwing is serviceable. And I like his approach at the plate. I think the Padres definitely got the better of that one.
He's batting here with runners on first and second. Barmes off second base, Upton off first. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ground ball left side. Here comes Maikel Franco. Flips to first in time. Side is retired. Well, the bullpen, 3 outs. Here in the 7th inning without a run scoring. Adam Morgan is still on the winning side of this game with the Phils hanging to a 1-run lead. WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. And buy Chevrolet. Visit your local dealer at ChevyDealer.com. Oh, a beautiful night here in San Diego. Hope you're enjoying yourself back home in the Delaware Valley. The Phillies lead it by 1. Part of the reason why they lead by 1 is because of some tremendous base running by Odubel Herrera. Time now for our Hyundai defensive play of the game.
This is ball by Odubel Herrera. Derek Norris thinks he can take an extra bag on the fumble, but he cannot. Odubel comes up firing, does a good job of not panicking, makes a good one hop throw to Michael at third base. And that is your Hyundai defensive play of the game, presented by your local Hyundai dealers.
He certainly has had a good game. Joaquin Benoit is the new pitcher for the Padres. Benoit in his 49th ball game. Hey, by the way,
yes,
I messed up last inning. Yasmani Grandal was the catcher for the Padres that went to the Dodgers. Rene Rivera was here as well. Patrick Coleman just tweeted that to me, and that's a great point. I totally forgot about Yasmani Grandal. So they gave up Grandal, who I think underachieved here in San Diego and is overachieving in Los Angeles. He's doing what the Padres thought he would do here. There's Genmar Gomez talking to Cameron Rupp.
Cameron's a pitching coach. Now, you always like to give feedback to your pitchers. If you're seeing something, I mean, you're clear on view of what you call and how the pitch is coming in.
Andres Blanco is the pinch hitter for the Phillies here in the 8th. Off the end of the bat foul. And it's 0-2. Well, you did say that Genmar seemed like he was uncomfortable. So there may have been something with his release point that was causing him to be uncomfortable that Cameron is picking up. Still got the job done, and he's been very good for the Phillies this year. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Outside, 1-2.
I wonder if throwing 2 innings last night had anything to do with, maybe he was just either out of gas or a little tight from last evening.
And Blanco strikes out. 9 strikeouts tonight for Padres pitching. 1 away. Chase Utley's coming up. It's time for the Major League Notebook. Murph.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Brought to you by St. Joseph's University. And if there was any doubt, that doubt is probably now erased. David Ortiz will be back in a Red Sox uniform in the year 2016. He had his 425th plate appearance today against the Detroit Tigers. That vested an option in his contract, so he will be back in a Red Sox uniform. He's going to make $11 million at least next year. Could make as much as $16 million depending on how many more plate appearances he gets the rest of this year. The Red Sox do have an option in 2017 that is a team option. And also Jose Fernandez hurting again down there in Miami. He's been sent back to Miami to get his shoulder checked out. He made it only through 5 innings yesterday before having to be shut down through about 75 pitches and was feeling some pain in that shoulder. So they've sent him back to Miami just to be sure. Of course, he's coming off that Tommy John surgery, and they want to be sure that he is 100% healthy. So he'll be shut down for at least a little bit until they see what the MRI has to say, guys.
Boy, what a shame. You hope that it's okay.
See a promising young talent like that, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times they do say that, sometimes the elbow injuries mask something else going on in the shoulder. Is that correct?
Well, when I went through mine, rehab, doctors say sometimes a bad elbow is caused because your shoulder is not as strong as that should be. End up compensating.
1 ball, 1 strike to Utley. He takes low, 2-1.
Guys, in all the stories that I was reading, they don't sound overly concerned at this point. It was like some shoulder stiffness. He was actually he felt a little bit of stiffness and was able to come back and throw another inning in that game, 9 pitches, and then they shut him back down. But they're obviously going to be very cautious with him because of the kind of talent that he is, and because he's coming off such a serious injury and a long layoff.
Yeah, and let's face it, they're in the same boat the Phillies are. They're not going anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
So to try to at least get him healthy, I mean, it could just be fatigue more than anything else that's causing it, the weakness.
You're right, too, Murph. A talent like him, he is one of those pitchers. You know, we talked about how everyone wants to go see offense. He is one of those guys, though. Who's throwing tonight? Oh, Jose Fernandez? Okay,
Ooh.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm buying a ticket for that one. He is that type of talent.
Yeah, if you're a Marlins fan, you haven't seen him lose at the new ballpark. 3 balls, 1 strike to Utley with 1 out here in the 8th. And Utley rips one into right field. That's going to go to the wall on 1 hop. And Utley's on his way to second base with his second double, maybe a triple. Nope, he's going to stop at second base. His second double of the night. Well, maybe there is something to it. Pete Buchanan was saying today that Chase said there was a glitch in his swing that he figured out.
That just looks like more of an aggressive swing. Works himself into a good 3-1 count. But it wasn't a choppy swing. Chase has a very distinct swing in that it's so short. But I think it got to a point before the injury where it was way too choppy. It was cutting everything. That was a very aggressive swing. Still short, but aggressive.
Well, he's 2 for 4, and that's a big run out at second base that the Phillies can add on here in the top half of the 8th inning. Cesar Hernandez 1 for 3. Change up low, 1 ball, no strikes.
Yeah, that's a huge run out there.
Foul tip, but it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, another good rip. He fouls it off. It remains 1-2. That got a piece of Derek Norris. Cesar took a violent rip at that.
That was a violent rip.
You missed those?
No, I don't. That one more off the side.
Side, yeah.
Sometimes they just, you know, the ones that don't get you flush and just kind of catch you in a way that you're just not ready for it. Did you ever hit your head on a tailgate? Like a tailgate, not from on a truck, but like on an SUV, the tailgates that come up. You just turn around and all of a sudden you get wham. There it is.
Or on a cabinet.
Yeah, or a cabinet. Yeah. And that's it. Just you're not expecting it. And it's just you're thinking, what the heck just happened? I don't miss that, Tom.
You miss every other part of it.
I sure do.
That one's pulled fair down the right field line. The Phils will get another run. Cesar Hernandez pounds that to the corner. He's on his way to third. Utley scores, and Cesar will get to third easily with a triple. And it's now a 4-2 ball game.
He was floating. Earlier in the bat, I think Benoit was getting some pitches past him. I think he did him a favor here by throwing the slider down and in, right in Cesar's wheelhouse. Keeps it fair, right past Yonder Alonso. He was floating around these pillows, Tom. I mean, it's not even close.
Not even close.
Stand-up triple.
Yep. Well, we've seen the bench definitely get into it. Look, they're saying, come on, come on. Good coaching by Jerome Williams.
These guys are having fun right now.
Yeah, they are. It's invigorating. Odubel takes a change-up low. 1 ball, no strikes. I think last night when Rupp hit the home run, the reaction from the bench and how they were. I mean, Murph's down there. Murph can see it and hear it. When Rupp hit the home run last night, I mean, it was an explosion by the bench. I mean, they were beating the heck out of him when he came in.
It shows that everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Inside, 2-0.
Well, let's face it, Tom. There's been times this year where they've been embarrassed. I mean, it's. And I don't think I'm really going on a limb. There's times where, you know, they were embarrassed as a ball club.
No question.
And to have it turn around since then, these guys are having fun, and winning adds to having fun. That's why we play.
2-1.
You know, Tom, you sit here, and I sit here, and I watch these guys, and I was watching tonight, you know, early in this game, we talked about it when Odubel, you know, made his play out in center field, and, you know, they're laughing, they're talking about the game, they're up on their feet, they're hanging over the rail. It is a different feel over the past couple of weeks. Now, certainly, you know, winning has a way of making everything a little bit more enjoyable. But, you know, it's what comes first. Is you having fun and then you start to win, or are you winning and then you start to have fun? I'm not sure with this group, but for sure it's a different feel in the dugout during these games.
Yeah, they're riding each other.
Yep.
They're holding each other accountable. Top 3 hitters tonight: Utley, Hernandez, Odubel, 6 for 11.
Is that good?
That's really good. It's nice to see Chase Utley get two base hits. Two pitch coming to Odubel Herrera. Chopper flagged down by Yonder Alonso. The throw to the plate in time to get Cesar Hernandez. Well, that's a fine play. Ball was hit on the nose, and Hernandez was going on contacts. I don't think there's any question about Rule 7.13, but Pete Buchanan's going to come up the stairs just to ask for a little time so they can look at it underneath.
I don't mind the contact play here. Already up by 2 runs. Might as well try and get a third. Very good play by Yonder. Goes up and grabs the ball, makes a good throw to home plate.
Well, that was really close at the plate. So he got him on the hip.
Tell you what, that's not many first basemen are good at throwing anymore. I think it's, you know, there's some guys that can do it. Adrian Gonzalez, saw him with an assist today. He throws the ball very well.
There goes Odubel, pitches inside, throw to second base is in time. Well, they finally got a Phillies base runner. Derek Norris has been run on all night long. This time, no, he throws out Odubel Herrera. The Phillies get an insurance run on an RBI triple by Cesar Hernandez, and they lead it by 2. ShopRite back-to-school lunch bag 14 and under when the Phillies take on the San Diego Padres on Sunday, August 30th. It's a 1:35 first pitch. Order your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. Always a great giveaway. The only problem with that lunch bag is that it's a sign that school is around the corner. Home half of the 8th inning. Phillies 4, Padres 2. And Luis Garcia in his 50th game. 3-4 with a 3.17 earned run average.
It's hard to believe that school's around the corner.
Out here in California, they're starting about a week and a half.
Fanatic goes everywhere.
Yes, he does. Matt Kemp leads it off. Pine tar stain's getting bigger.
It is something.
It's a lot of pine tar too. It's up past the trademark.
It sure is.
Billy Martin would not be happy. 2-0. Where's Tim McClellan when you need him?
Hard to believe that Tim was around for that long.
Two balls, no strikes to Kemp. That one's hit through the shifts. 3 infielders on the right side, and he gets aboard with his second hit of the night. A leadoff single here in the bottom of the 8th. Justin Upton singled and went to second on an error by Cody Ashe in the 6th inning. He wound up scoring an unearned run.
Shows you how hard that ball was hit by Kemp.
He had no chance for two infielders who were fairly close to it.
Seemingly right next to each other.
I think he was thinking fastball. What do you think?
Safe bet.
Let's get started early.
No. That would induce a right on it in the dugout.
Which dugout?
Some of the guys I played with, your own.
Tried it again. This time he wasn't biting. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Padres have 2 pitchers loosening up out in the bullpen. Both right-handers. One is Kimbrel. Kimbrel's the closest of the 2. Over to shortstop. That could be 2. A 6-4-3 double play.
Boy, did that come at a nice time. Justin looking just about as uncomfortable as you can see a hitter in that bat against Luis Garcia. We had an earlier tailor-made double play, but this may have been the one you'd see defined in a dictionary. 6-4-3, good feeds all the way around.
That was a great reaction by Cameron Rupp in the background there. Jerko's hit the ball hard in 3 at-bats. He has an RBI single to show for it. Fastball just a bit low. 1 ball, no strikes.
You know, we would take pleasure in the fact knowing that, you know, we knew as catchers we didn't throw that pitch, but we still felt like we had a big part in the result.
Yeah, you're invested in it.
That's 2-0. Here it is. See if you can hit it, and it's still by you.
Ground ball foul toward third past Glenn Hoffman. 17 years Glenn Hoffman's been a third base coach. First with the Dodgers, now with the Padres. His little brother was in the booth earlier. Back toward the middle. Hernandez gets to it. Spins, throws in time, and the side is retired. Who says the man can't play a little shortstop?
Yeah.
Cesar Hernandez helps the Phils through this 8th inning. His buddy Freddie Galvis loved that play. We'll go to the 9th with the Phils on top by 2. Citizens Bank Park, including the Goya Latino Family Celebration on Friday, August 28th. Enjoy the foods, music, and dancing of this annual event. Take part in a special live auction inside the first base gates. Proceeds benefiting Concilio in their efforts to provide social services in the Philadelphia Latino community. Order your tickets for the final weekend of August by going to Phillies.com. Sean Kelly is the new pitcher for the Padres. 37th game. Sean Kelly pitched the 11th inning in last night's ball game for San Diego, and he'll face Maikel Franco here in the 9th. Phil's up by 2. Kenny Giles starting to warm in the Phillies bullpen. Fastball on the outside corner to Franco, who is hitless tonight, 0 for 3, 0 for 7 in the series. It's not often that he goes back-to-back games without hits. One ball, one strike. Aaron Balsley, Pat Murphy, they're trying to figure some things out here. The Padres have lost 4 straight games at 5 of 6. Pretty good breaking pitch, 2-2.
nice for Michael just to shoot a ground ball, hard ground ball right up the middle right now.
Yeah, because they're playing in a pull with the 3 infielders on the left side.
But just to stay on something, it seems to be pulling off just a hair.
A lot of folks around this ballpark were buzzing about his defense last night over at third base. You know, they had heard about his offense, the fact that his OPS is the best among National League rookies. But defensively, he made a couple of really good plays in last night's ball game. Pulls that one toward the hole. Diving stop by Solarte to his feet. Man, did he get a lot on that throw. That's the tip of your hat right there defensively. Not a whole lot you can do if you're Maikel Franco.
I said it earlier in the ball game. I like this Solarte. I really do. Ranging to his left. Gets to his feet quickly. Guns it across the diamond. Not even close.
An awful lot on that throw, too. So a pitching change for the Padres. The right-hander will leave with Ryan Howard coming in. And Garces, the lefty, will come in. One man down, top of the 9th inning. Phillies lead it by 2. We'll be back right after this. Monday morning, wake up with Bob. Start your day right with Ellis, Mealy, Brooks, and Baker. Plus, special guests Eric Gunn and John Feinstein. Breakfast on Broad, presented by Virtua Joint Replacement Institute. Weekday mornings from 6 until 8, over on the Comcast Network. Top of the 9th inning, one man down. Frank Garces. In his 15th game professionally. I should say in 14 games in AAA, he had good numbers. It's been up and down with the Padres this year. Earned run average is 3.81 here in the big leagues. And he's on to face Ryan Howard and Dominic Brown. Fastball, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, big hook from him. First pitch for a strike, and then comes back with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Not a very big guy.
Pretty good chance Howard gets the hook again.
That or dot him down and away.
Well, he gets breaking ball and he swings and misses it. And they're 2 away. 10 strikeouts tonight for Padres pitching. Dominic Brown is now coming up. That's out of play.
See, that's the pitch there. 1-0. You do get that heater that you're looking for. A, you get the one you're looking for. B, it's in a great spot to hit. That's the next progression for Don Brown, not missing that pitch, especially lefty on lefty.
Swing and a miss, 2-2. This fastball's got some pretty good giddy up on it for a little guy. Padres last year went a good portion of the season without a lefty. Then Alex Torres was the only lefty. This year they went a good portion of the season without a lefty. They got Zebchinski. Garces obviously was here from time to time. Now they have 2 left-handers. I think you have to have 2 left-handers in this day and age just to survive. Here comes the 2-2 pitch to Don Brown. Fastball outside, 3-2.
I think so, especially in the American League. Definitely need another wrong-hander down there with the pitchers not hitting.
And ball 4. It is ball 4, right? Yep.
In this league, yes.
Dominic wasn't so sure. But it is another lefty now for Garces as Cody Ashe will step up. Ashe is 1 for 3 in this game. He has struck out twice, single to right. Derek Norris didn't know where that ball was. He was bobbing around behind home plate. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ashe. Phillies added a run in the top of the 8th inning. That's why they lead it 4-2. Ken Giles been throwing in the pen for a little bit of time, so he's ready to go. Dale Thayer is throwing in the pen for the Padres in case another right-hander comes up. Cameron Rupp is on deck. That one is floated out toward left field. Barmes was out, makes the catch, and the side is retired. No runs, no hits, 1 man left. Here we go. Bottom of the 9th inning. The Phillies lead the Padres by 2. Ken Giles coming on for the Phils. Insurance presents Phillies Postgame Live. Hoping that they'll get a chance to talk about another Phillies victory. Phillies lead it by 2 as we move to the bottom of the 9th inning. Ken Giles is in. Giles is the 4th pitcher used by the Phillies tonight. Adam Morgan started. He went the first 6. He allowed 2 runs, 1 earned, 1 unearned. Then it was Genmar Gomez, who pitched a scoreless 7th inning. Luis Garcia, scoreless 8th inning. So the Phillies bullpen 8 scoreless innings so far, 8 hits allowed. And 6 strikeouts. Pete McCannon's been happy about his bullpen, but he does think the starters need to go a little deeper in the games. Larry Bowa was aligning the defense. The first batter that will lead it off is Yonder Alonso. He takes strike 1. So it was Yonder that was talking about Ken Giles, right?
Yes.
He did have a base hit in last night's game against him.
Broken bat, flare to right.
Slider inside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Very complimentary towards Kenny was Yonder.
I'm amazed how many of these guys you still know. When we go from city to city. He tried to check. He went around.
Few and far between.
Well, but it's still because you've been out of the major league part of the game for how long?
Since like service time last year was 05.
Yeah. One ball, 2 strikes. That one's over to third on 1 hop, bobbled by Franco. Still has time. Was very relaxed even though he bobbled it. He realized he had a slow runner. 1 out here in the 9th inning. This was last night for Ken Giles. Picked up a couple strikeouts.
This was a fastball to Upton that just cuts. And this slider to Jerko. Thanks for coming. Kenny very animated. Well, he should be.
We are getting close to a month since the All-Star break. As that one's in there, it's 0-1 to Clint Barmes. Close to a month since the All-Star break, and the Phillies are still maintaining the best record in baseball. We're getting to the point where you're going to say it's not a fluke. Foul tip, or foul ball, I should say, 0-2.
You look at how far the game has evolved with scouting and shifts and everything else. And that there to Yonder Alonso, perfect example of scouting reports and where to play guys. That should have been a single. Hit right in that, Tony Gwynn used to call it the 5.5 hole.
Yeah.
You know? Right here, 5.5 hole. Cesar's 6 is the shortstop, 5 is the third baseman. Tony called it the 5.5 hole. But that scouting, Maikel Franco didn't even have to move for that ball. He was in the perfect spot.
Well, that was a short slider.
10 yards. Intentional grounding. That'll be out of play.
Marlins have already lost. If the Phils win, they are out of the basement in the National League East, and they will no longer have the worst record in baseball. There is something to it. Here comes the 1-2 pitch again. Way upstairs.
Tried to throw that one through Cameron Rupp.
He tried to throw it to Tijuana.
That's physically impossible, Tom.
To throw it through Cameron Rupp? Or throw it to Tijuana?
Throw it to Tijuana.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and the pitch. Got him. He went after a slider. You gear up for that fastball and you start to pull the trigger. It's tough to slow it up. 2 outs here in the 9th inning.
And you have to. You look up at the board and it says 98. You got to get it started. And you're just not picking up rotation.
Well, the fans who have made this trip out from Philadelphia, and there are a lot of them, including that one big group. They saw them win game 1 in extra innings after trailing at 3-0. Today they've led from the beginning, and they lead it by 2 with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th, and Melvin Upton Jr. at the plate. The older of the 2 Upton brothers on the inside corner, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's 1-1.
Kenny may have gotten away with one there in the inner half.
I don't think Melvin is agreeing with these calls. Reminder, tomorrow will be on the air at 4 o'clock on Comcast Sportsnet. Wrap up this series. Big Sunday show will precede it. One ball, 2 strikes. Fastball swung on and missed. 96 miles an hour from Ken Giles, and the Phillies have taken the first 2 games from the San Diego Padres, and they are out of the basement in the National League East. A 4-2 final score. It has taken a long time to get out of the basement, but the Phillies' success since the All-Star break continues to grow. Odubel Herrera got things rolling in the first few innings. He is our Chevrolet player of the game. 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and some aggressive base runs.